So I want to give a bit of a project review on this, which is a little unusual of a project for me. To start off with, it was a commission. It's a charcuterie board that was commissioned for a specific person, and as with pretty much all my projects, I bought the wood kind of in this form and just added the carving to it. So I didn't like build or do anything here. But the original intention for the design was to have this tile and then the recipient's initial with kind of a laurel around it, and then to use this pattern, this design of the tile to kind of be an inspiration or similar type of thing to do as the border around. And I was struggling to come up with how I could do that. Come up with something that kind of looked good and was chip carvable based on this. So instead of using this as kind of the main inspiration, the buyer and I decided to use this. And so this laurel pattern is actually kind of stylized based off olive leaves. So did kind of a similar thing with the rest of the motif, just kind of a different take on olive leaves, but the same general style, so that there's a consistency in kind of the feel, but also not too repetitive or too monotonous. So you can see the border is all kind of repetitive and the same sort of thing, but then the center thing is a little bit different with the same kind of general feel, and then again different laurel there. So I think it turned out pretty cohesive, but also still fairly simple and interesting. But the first trouble in the actual work on the wood part was realizing that this tile is actually a little bit too big for this area. So I ended up having to kind of chisel out and shave this area, which this square and this square were originally the same size. Probably hard to tell on the camera at this point, but this is a little bit bigger now to make room for this tile to fit in there. And the idea being that you've got cheese and crackers or meats or whatever on there, and so you can pop out the two boards and wash those if you need to. So yeah, that took a bit of extra time to go ahead and get that shaved out. And then the other challenge that I had was, since this is used for food and since it probably will need to be washed at some point, rather than using the standard finish that I do, which is a spray lacquer on this portion, I wanted to use epoxy so that it'll fill in the chips to help it not collect crumbs and debris and all that stuff, but also a little more durable finish for stuff being on it and washing and whatnot. So I did make sure to buy food grade, food safe epoxy for that. But I am not an expert at epoxy, and that gave me some troubles in kind of understanding how to get a nice even coat on all 6 sides of this piece. So it took a little bit of trial and error and a couple of coats on top. I ended up touching it before it was fully dry, so I had fingerprints, had to recoat that. Had a little bit of dripping on the bottom, so I did a little bit of recoating to try to mask that. It still isn't as good as I would like, but that's the bottom, not really going to be seen too much. And the top I think turned out pretty good for what it is and for my skill with epoxy. But I do like the idea of the chip carving with epoxy kind of coating and protecting it. I tried it a number of years ago as well for the checkerboard or chessboard, so the pieces are able to slide over and again not catch or damage the chip carving. So it's something I'd like to play around with a little bit more, but it is definitely a challenge to figure out kind of how to work with that and get the results that I'm looking for. But anyway, yeah, there's some kind of different challenge and process to this that I figured I'd go ahead and share out with you all.